The Western Cape High Court has struck off the roll with costs an urgent application by ANC MP Mervyn Dirks challenging his temporary suspension. Dirks tried to block the ANC from replacing him so that his petition to Scopa can be properly ventilated. Dirks wants President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa to answer allegations about the misappropriation of state funds. Well, for more of this, let's go to our reporter now, Lindsay Dentlinger in Cape Town. Lindsay, very good afternoon to you. This looks like it was a very short and sharp, brief appearance with that ruling now, with Mervyn Dirks facing the cost as well.
Yes, Dan, well, long and short, really. It started off in the Western Cape High Court proper this morning, shortly after 10 o'clock. But the respondents cited, which included the ANC itself, the Speaker, the Presidency, they all said this was just too short notice for them to respond appropriately. And so they asked the court to stand down for about just over an hour. And in the end, it turned out to be a 2-hour-long wait before the matter resumed again virtually. But it didn't take Judge Andre Lechransi very long to come to his conclusion after hearing the arguments from both the applicant, from the ANC, and the Speaker of Parliament and the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, informing the court that they would abide by whatever decision was taken. So in the end, the judge found that Mervyn Dirks did not advance sufficient reasons for this matter to be heard urgently. You will know that the court really needs to be convinced that a matter needs to be heard immediately, and Judge Lechransi saying that he felt that if Mervyn Dirks was aggrieved by his temporary suspension from the ANC, he didn't see why this matter couldn't wait, and why Mervyn Dirks wouldn't receive legal recourse in the due process of the court's time, and that there really wasn't enough reason to suggest that it had to be heard immediately, particularly the reason being advanced by his legal team, and that is that meeting at 4 o'clock where Mervyn Dirks is expected to put his petition formally on the table before this committee, of which he is, under usual circumstances, the ANC's whip, and to argue a case as to why he believes this particular committee should call the President to answer to these allegations of the misappropriation of funds.
Yeah, where does this come from, Lindsay, this whole issue with Mervyn Dirks and this misappropriation of funds? Just remind our viewers, what is the stake here?
Well, you could argue many things are at play here, Dan. Firstly, there's obviously the political maneuverings that this case is so shrouded in, and that being these so-called factional battles that play out, while many will argue that Mervyn Dirks is playing a factional game by trying to convince this committee that the President needs to be called to answer to these allegations. In his court papers today, he argued quite the converse, saying it was in fact these factions who are trying to stop him from carrying out his duty as an MP, carrying out his duty as oversight, a member of this oversight committee. We know from the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, and that's certainly also something his lawyer, Godridge Gardy, told the media on the sidelines today, that would be making a mockery of the Zondo Commission if MPs and Parliament didn't play its role in exercising oversight over the executive. So many factors at play, depending on which you want to believe, but we cannot divorce the politics of all of this, these so-called factional battles. Mervyn Dirks, unashamedly a member of a faction known as the Radical Economic Transformation faction, and obviously there would be those who would be seen to wanting to protect President Cyril Ramaphosa from coming to answer to these allegations. And then, of course, there's that other aspect of Parliament having been criticised in the past also by the Zondo Commission for not playing its role fully, and that is the argument that Mervyn Dirks wants us to believe, that he is playing his role as an MP. He's taking these matters seriously, and he thinks that this oversight committee of Parliament, of which he is also a member, should be taking these allegations seriously, and should seriously consider whether or not to probe them any further.
Okay, now the court has struck this matter off the roll with cost. It's not urgent, the court says, What is next? Do we know? Did you get a sense what he's going to do next?
Well, I think we wait to see whether the Standing Committee of Public Accounts goes ahead and sits at 4 o'clock this afternoon, as is scheduled. As I said, the chairperson of this committee has told the court that he will abide by whatever decision the court made, but the court made no finding or ruling in terms of whether this committee goes ahead or not. In fact, the judge felt that using this as a reason why this matter had to be heard urgently, he wasn't buying it, saying if the meeting had been postponed once before, it could be postponed again. But as far as we know at this hour, Dan, that meeting is still scheduled to go ahead. In what form it now goes ahead remains to be seen. Mervyn Dirks telling me personally outside court this morning that he does intend to attend this committee. Whether the party will have him not attend as an MP, he is still entitled to do so as an ordinary member of the public, and he's also entitled to petition this committee as an ordinary member of the public. Where the sting in the tail comes, Dan, is when it comes down to the vote. He can by all means make this representation to the committee, but ultimately this committee will have to vote whether they feel his petition has merit and whether they should continue to pursue it. But this committee ordinarily is a committee of 11 members. If we are to assume that everybody attends, if we are to assume that Mervyn Dirks can now not play his role as an ANC MP, it would then essentially come down to 10 people voting, and that could result in a stalemate. And that is part of the argument Mervyn Dirks also putting before the court today, claiming that any decision being taken by this committee today would essentially be illegal. Again, I didn't get the feeling that the court was buying that argument, but be that as it may, we now wait to see how and if that committee proceeds this afternoon, and in under what circumstances and what basis Mervyn Dirks then lays before this petition before the committee for it to consider whether to take the matter further.
Brilliant, as usual. Brilliant update there. Thank you very much, Lindsay Tentlinger, in our studios in Cape Town. We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen in Parliament regarding this matter.